Hello, and welcome to another edition of Distilled Waters Radio. I'm your host, Andrew Norton Webber. The call-in number is 646-716-4598. The lines are open. You can call in anytime, and that's what this show is for. My personal email is contact@andrewnortonwebber.com. And my website, where we're collecting all the free, true water knowledge, is AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, spelled just like the constellation. How's everybody doing? We've had a lot of great testimonials this week, a lot of happy people. Let's share one of those. Exciting one just came in from a woman named Shirley, and for the past rest of her life, whenever she used to go to the dentist, and the dentist would use that pick and prod the teeth, it was usually very painful for her. She has started using urine therapy and distilled water. And on her previous exam, the dentist told her that, I think maybe she was using just the distilled water, but her teeth were looking great. And whatever she was doing to keep it up. She said she's always been a terrible flosser and hasn't really taken good care of her teeth, and they've gotten very sensitive. But she said that it wasn't nearly as painful when she went to the dentist. And then she just went again just recently, and she's been doing the urine therapy with her teeth. She's been swishing a lot. Instead of oil pulling, urine pulling. And this time she went to the dentist, and not only was there no pain at all during the poking and prodding and the exam and looking in around the teeth and the gums, but he said she had a nearly perfect mouth, and that he at the most sees 10 people a year that have a mouth near to that level of perfection that hers was in. And he asked her what she was doing. He said, I forget what it was. He said that he knew she'd been up to, but the distilled water. Well, I think he asked if she was brushing better or something, and she said, no, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, because you won't believe me, or, who wants to tell anybody about urine therapy, right? But since her mouth was so awesome, he begged of her to tell him. And so she did, and he wasn't that bothered by it, but was highly impressed by the effects, and he let her know. He said, actually, of the 10 people that I do see each year that have a level of perfection of teeth and gums as this, they are usually very young people and never over the age of 20. Usually very young people, 20 at the oldest. Shirley is 49 years old. She said that she hopes her story helps someone else to make the transition over to the distilled waters. And so I'm doing my best to put that out there for her and share that and let that encourage other people and excite other people to drink of the distilled waters and make your teeth happy and healthy again. This is also, this tooth whitening aspect and, making beautiful teeth is one of the common sense in your face arguments you can use to help diffuse the ridiculous claim that distilled water leaches living organic minerals from the body. Because if it was leaching both types of minerals, people's teeth wouldn't just get bright and shiny. They'd start dissolving altogether. And of course, that doesn't happen at all. All people's teeth do when they start either swishing with distilled water or urine, which is even more powerfully distilled and more powerful at whitening the teeth, all their teeth do is get whiter. And it's not like a plastic veneer whiteness that you see on a lot of TV personalities. It's kind of got this dull, solid whiteness to it. You recognize plastic teeth right away. But people that have been rinsing their teeth with the distilled waters, there is a whiteness that we've all forgotten about. There is a bone whiteness that is recoverable and is just amazing when somebody flashes you a smile full of truly bone white teeth. It is different from the plastic veneers. When I was in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, I helped 3 people, 50, 60, and 70 years old, to go on a 5-day distilled waters fast. And one of them was a 60-year-old demolition worker. He wrecked buildings for a living using massive wrecking balls and cranes. And he happened to be watching 9/11 the day that it happened, and he was an expert at taking down buildings and knew how much it took to knock a building down. And he said that he saw the day that he saw the buildings just fall into thin air, thin dust on the TV, he said, "Whoop, I'm out of here." He knew there was something really wrong because he knew that buildings could not just fall like that. So he's a really cool guy. And he did this fast, and he had lung cancer previously in his life. And from the chemo and radiation treatments, his teeth were kind of black in the core, black from the inside out. And during this fast, I can't remember whether he was drinking his urine or not, but I know I was delivering some distilled water to each of them every day because it's not that readily available in Ecuador. But Susie and I had brought our our countertop distiller. Not really portable, but it is portable. It takes up about half of your suitcase, but it's worth it for us to travel with it, especially you go to a place where they don't have it readily available on the shelves. So we had our traveling countertop distiller and making distilled water for everybody. And this guy, he had his teeth that were black from the inside out, and 3 times a day, he swished with urine for about 10 minutes at a time. And he was remarking that he was noticing a difference in his teeth during the middle of the fast, but it was absolutely clear to everyone during the end of the fast. By the 5th day, his teeth were almost totally solid white. Anyone there can't hear Andrew? I guess you guys can hear me. So that was 5 days going from almost totally black. They weren't black from, typical tooth decay. There's something I'm not that familiar with it, but something about radiation destroys people's teeth, and they were dead on the inside, or partially dead, or somehow they were blackened, but they were almost totally back to white by the time he was done. Just a 5-day fast, swishing 3 times a day. So that's, if you really want to do some work on your teeth, that's the basic protocol. And it wouldn't, you could do it 5, 6, 7 times a day, but 3 times a day for 10 minutes at a time really has an incredible effect. So that's that. I got an update for you about Lady, the black lab, who started about 90 pounds. This is my friend's dog. And maybe it's been 9, 10 days now. But you can already see her hips now. She's got a figure, rather when she was just kind of a big straight sausage dog. Her hips are showing now. And she's jumping up easier into the vehicle. She's running around faster. And I haven't weighed her yet, but she probably looks like she's lost 10 pounds at least. And all that we have done is taken away the fluoride chlorine water and taken away the dog kibbles, the junk food, the basic bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst of all foods, crunchy pet nibbles, and replace that with 1 piece of raw chicken every day, 1 leg quarter, and it's just, we're watching her change by the day. So she's doing great. And she's got about 14 tumors all over her body too. She's got all kinds of different size tumors, ranging from the size of a silver ounce to a mercury dime. I don't know whatever size, but you can feel them all over her belly. A lot of dogs start getting those, but we will watch those melt. Philip from, where's Philip from? Anyways, Philip writes in, and he wanted to know how I talk about salt and how I relate to it. He says, isn't it organic? Inorganic? Yes, it is. And he asked, he says, it's easy to skip salt, but it has a tendency to make the food better, or make the food taste better. And he's just wondering what my position is on salt. So I figure we can talk about that again. I have mentioned it before. But salt is inorganic, and it's poisonous to the human body. It's poisonous to all water-based creatures. We can only assimilate organic minerals, and it's just a common fact that whether it's table salt or sea salt or Himalayan sea salt, or whatever fancy ancient salt you find, they're all dead. There's no life in them. They're inorganic minerals, and we can't assimilate them. And if you look at it in a smaller picture, everybody knows that salt is crystals. Salt is a little crystal. And not that I can think of anywhere else in our life do we eat crystals, rocks, purposely eat rocks. Well, that's what we're doing when we eat salt. And don't get me wrong, I use it because I am a junk food junkie, trying to recover, trying to get better. But, I still, when I do eat cooked foods, French fries, gotta have salt on them, right? But we're important here, what we're trying to do is to know what the truth is so that we can slowly migrate towards the better decisions. People usually bring up animals and deer that migrate towards salt licks, or cows that have salt licks. People say they have to have them. Well, because it forces the cows to produce more milk. Or it makes them drink more water, something like that. I can't remember what the reasoning is given. But there are no animals in the wild that have to have salt. And people try to bring up cows or deer going to deer licks or even deers going to natural salt deposits. And even elephants that will traverse across Africa to get to a salt lick every year. Well, animals are just like us, and they can become addicted to sensations. And, like Philip said, that, it has a tendency to make the food taste better. Well, that's impossible. It doesn't actually do that. It stimulates your taste buds, and it makes the food taste more like salt. Just like MSG is a poisonous salt that stimulates your taste buds, and they get all coked out and all excitotoxined. And so it's basically a high. And that's what having salt on your food is like. But if it were true that deer and elephant and cows had to have it to live, then all deer, cows, and elephants would have to have it to live. But they don't. There's only certain random herds of deers that happen to find a salt lick in their area, and they go to it because they are cracking out on it. It's not that they have to have it. They're just like us, and they like our creature comforts. And there's animals that find rotten. They learn about rotting fruit, and they get drunk on it. Doesn't mean that they have to have it just because they do it. It is also a well-known fact that when Columbo discovered, quote unquote, America, that none of the native Indians ate salt. That beautiful tribe of people did not eat salt and considered the act repulsive and the taste repulsive. And, there was just as many oceans and places to find salt, but they didn't use it at all, that beautiful, gorgeous race of people. We also have the story, I can't remember the name of the family, but if you've seen it before, you remember it, the story of the family that got lost in the Siberian forests for 40 years. They were running from, I believe it was World War I era conflicts. Can't quite remember the dates. But it was back at a time when only black and white photos were available. I believe it was from World War I conflicts. But this man and his wife fled, had to flee their property and went into the woods, and they became separated from society for 40 years. And I think that they didn't even know that World War II had ended, or, they didn't even know about World War II. That's how long they were out there. They got lost sometime during World War I, and then they were discovered by some hikers, I think, if I remember correctly, after World War II. And there's an importance to this related to salt. When you read the story, one of the kind of most climactic statements, they had a couple of children, this husband and wife, while they were in the wild. And so these children were born in the wild. And one of the highlights towards the end of the story is the father said, when they were interviewed back in Civilization, I believe it was the father that said, it was hell living for 40 years without salt. When they asked him what he missed most, or what was the worst thing was living for 40 years without salt. But I noticed that nobody points out to the fact that they lived for 40 years without salt. Yes, once you become addicted to something, it's hell going without it. And the other powerful fact is that the children who had grown up without ever having salt, they died not long after being brought back into society. And people will remember that it is not uncommon in America for babies to die from salt overdose, salt poisoning. Because there's so much salt in the American diet that kidneys that have never had it before, it can shut them down real fast. And so I think what happened with, it's pretty obvious to me, of course, when they get rescued, Dad's like, oh my God, we got salt again. And of course, he introduces it to his children. And his children start eating it and get quickly addicted to it because Dad is showing the way. Go, look at this, salt. It shows them how awesome it is. And so they try it and they quickly get hooked on it. And they quickly died. They lived their whole lives in the woods and they were fine and healthy and they were making it. Then they get found, and what killed them? Of course, you say it's a lot of other toxins in society, but this was even before fluoride was in the water. I'm guessing it was the salt. So I don't think we need salt at all. It makes it's not living. It's not assimilable. And the salts that you need, everybody talks about it's got 90 or 82, 92 trace elements in the salt. Those are all in living plants. The actual light-filled, vibrating aspect, version of those trace minerals and minerals. And let's delve more into organic versus inorganic while we're on the topic of salt and light-infused things. What really is organic versus inorganic? Organic is organized. And I think it's something like on the molecular structure. And it doesn't, the science of it is of secondary importance to me. The importance is that we know that it already works. That's why we don't allow for debate about whether or not distilled water is good for you on the show, because that's for people who should be in insane asylums. Every pure water-based creature knows that pure water is the most awesome thing that it could ever ingest. Organic minerals, as one guy put it, the best I ever saw, and if you notice, you'll keep looking in different dictionaries and different books here and there, they all have these different definitions, and they try to talk about whether it's carbon-based or not, that makes it organic or not. That's what really is the thing, is whether or not it's channeling light. When you die, you're dead. You're out like a light bulb, they say. Out cold. When you're alive, you're all bright and shiny and living. And when you're dead, you're not. It's all centered around life and light. And I don't know what life or light truly is, but I guess we'll figure that out the more enlightened that we get, the more that we wake up, the more that we turn on the lights. We can start to answer these further questions of what is light and what is life. But they like to hide things in the English, in this particular language. I'm sure they do it in all languages. But this is definitely the most low vibrating language on the planet in this insane English American psychotic rat maze we find ourselves in. The language is full of clues, it seems like, of the way back home, of the truth of ourselves. And I see this in life and light, the words themselves. Life. It's what plants inject into dead rocks, is light, photosynthesis. Photon, synthesis, fusion. Photon, fusion. Photon injection. Plants inject. What do plants do to minerals to make them start channeling light? I think they organize them somehow. They bring them to a higher vibrating frequency, and they are more organized than less organized. And the more organized something is, the more it conducts light. The less organized it is, the less it conducts light. So we got organic versus inorganic, or unorganized. And life has an F in the middle of it. And I see a bunch of words that are exact mimics of life, but they have replacements for the F in them. In the word light, we have a GH, which is silent. But normally when the GH is used in a word, like enough or tough, it's an F sound. So it's right, it's life, light and life, life. It's just, they always change the spelling a little bit to kind of disguise words. And you can kind of trace their roots. I think it's called the etymology, is that right? So life can become, you can see life is in the word light. And then we've got when something is live, right? You're saying you want live organic minerals instead of dead inorganic minerals? Well, why am I using that word called live? Again, we have an imposter for the letter F. We have a V in there. And there are sometimes where the V sound is interchangeable with F, as in the word of. It's spelled O-F, but you're pronouncing it with a V sound. And you notice it's interchangeable, life or alive. Is it living or is it dead? Do you enliven it when you enlighten it? See all these things they keep bouncing around, light and life, intermixing the two words for all kinds of applications. And there's also the word love. And notice these are all starting with the L too. L is right there in the beginning of all of them. Life, and you can find life out of light out of life. You can find live out of life, and you can find love out of life, because there all it is switch the I to an O, and we still have the V in there, kind of replacing the F symbol or the F sound, but it's still a derivative of life. And you also have, again with the L word, is the word, when you go from life to light to like. You hear life like light. Life like light. You hear the similarity? It's the sound. In the beginning was the word, and the word was sound. And it's the sounds that we're making. It's the sounds that sorcerers and magicians use to cast their spells. They say an entire third of the human brain is devoted to making sound. But yet we don't really hardly use it that much. People that hear English people speaking English to people that don't speak English at all, and they don't understand us, they say this, because all they can listen to then is the sound, because they can't understand what we're saying. They say we sound like dogs barking. That is a very common testimonial. We sound like dogs barking, meaning low, crunchy, scrunchy, just not harmonious sounds. And for example, and in the older supposed dead languages that are not taught, like Sanskrit, Hebrew, Latin, they're pushing English, and they want English to be the global language. Well, in English, this beautiful liquid that we've all learned about called urine, pretend you don't know what the word urine means, you just listen to the sound, urine. It sounds like a car trying to start or something that can't start. It's a terrible grinding noise, and nobody likes to say it. Urine, urine, urine. And try to say it, urine. You can't. It's still it's just a crunchy word. It doesn't sound good. But what's the Indian Sanskrit word for urine? Shivambu. This lovely, poetic, flowing, right? Beautiful word. And even nobody is comfortable, or almost nobody is comfortable in the English language saying the two sex organs, penis and vagina. They make people uncomfortable just saying the noises, penis. It sounds like a stabbing noise. It's not a pretty word at all. But again, look at Sanskrit. Penis and vagina are said as lingam and yoni. Those are such nicer, easier, comfortable flowing words. And the sounds that you make have vibratory effects, right? We could be much more lyrical. And I think the reason that it's hard to tell someone that you love them is because it doesn't quite accurately reflect what you're trying to say. And that what you're really trying to say is that you liked them. And because life is light, that you shine your light on somebody. When you love them, you give them all of your attention. When you love something, you stare at it. When you like something, you look at it. And you shine your light in it. You attenuate your attention on it. You gaze at it. When you love something, you light it up with your attention. When you shine your focus on something, you shine your light on it. It's the only way you can do it. You can't do it by ignoring it. You've got to focus your attention on it. Focus, attenuate, attention, right? So love, you can hear it. Pretend you didn't know what love or life meant. Just listen to the sound. Life, love. Love always comes out lower vibrating. Even when you try to raise the two, it's easier to raise the life word, sorry, I'm going to clear my throat so I can do this right, than it is to raise the love word. Sorry. Life, love. And you try to raise up love, life. Life is always much easier to make into a higher vibrating sound. Love is always just kind of love. It's got the duh sound in it, You're trying to emote to somebody how much that you're the most special thing to them ever. And you got to make a sound to them that sounds like duh. I drool on you or something, right? It doesn't truly affect you. You want to tell them that you hold the attention of their gaze. They hold the focus of all your light, your life. You light them, and that's why it's easier to tell somebody that you like them than it is to tell them somebody that you love them, because like is actually a closer word to what you mean phonetically, I think. It's closer to saying, I like you. That's why I like you. It always comes out very easy. You tell somebody that you like them. And people argue, well, it's the emphasis, what, that love means, all this and this. But I think there's a part of it that's, that may be true, but there's quite a big part of it in that the vibrations of the words don't feel right. And it's quite joyous if you start trying to do it, you tell somebody, I like you, or I like you very much. It's kind of fun. It's like truth in advertising. It's truth that that's what you wanted to say in the first place is, I like you, I like you, when I look at you, you're so cool that I give of you my life light energy just by giving you my attention. attenuate my laser beams on you, my gaze. The rays, light beam rays of your gaze. So those organic minerals, they got the life in them. They got the light in them. They are alive. When you activate your third eye, you get the light in you, and people spring to life. And do you see how those two are all just always being switched and overlapped over each other? Sea salt has no life in it. Doesn't have light in it. It may have light of a different spectrum that we can't use. I'm sure in the land of the inorganic beings that salt is necessary. But here it just clogs you up. Here it gives you high blood pressure. Here in the organic world, it clogs you up. And it makes people hold water too. Because it's so poisonous and irritating, the body has to hold more water to protect itself from these sharp crystals, to keep them encased in water from hurting you and from scraping out your insides. Yes, Moliana makes a good point. Love and loathe are very similar. Everything we, with two E's, have been taught is upside down and backwards. Absolutely. As my wife and I call this place opposite land. And so when you try to tell somebody that you love them, you're basically telling them that you loathe them. And so yes, your intent is still there behind it, but the actual actions you took in the physical world are undermining your intent. And I know my friend Bart Vanderswan has very much studied the 432 hertz versus, excuse me if I'm wrong, but maybe it's the 440 hertz that all of our instruments are currently tuned to. And people like Bob Marley refuse to play those types of interests. Bob Marley only played in the 432 hertz. Everything is upside down. We've got music that has frequencies that hurt you rather than the natural harmonic frequencies that heal you. And sometime I would like to play, Bart makes his own music in the 432 hertz. Some very nice meditative sounds, and he even does ohms during it with his own voice. And I don't have it logged onto this computer right now, but I would like to play some of his, and maybe have him on the air sometime to talk about, because I don't know much at all about it. That's about the extent I can talk about the difference between 432 and 440, if that's the hurtful. It was sometime early in the 19th century, I believe, they started making all the instruments, taking them away from the 432 frequency and building them in the 440 frequency. But that would be great to have Bart on sometime to talk about that. Even though it's not really about the water, maybe you could just give us a little intro. Because I know when I was playing Peter Agelastio's Monkey Claws, the recordings from Monkey Claws Studio, Bart asked, does Peter record in the 432? And I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I suppose we could ask Peter, but I'm just not up on it. So that's my diatribe on salt and life, living, light, look, live, enlighten. See that L in there? The L-I sound is in there everywhere. And I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what's up with the lie. That's funny. It's a lie, right? The lie sound. Huh. So maybe that's why they've labeled a lie. They've used, since lie is such a good word, good sound, maybe that's why they used it to label the term for when you're not telling the truth is a lie. But lie is also seems to be the essence of the most powerful and important words we have in the English language: life, light, enliven, enlighten. Something else very cool is that Alvin S. Boyd wrote a book called The Esoteric Meaning of the Alphabet, or The Hidden Esoteric Meaning of the Alphabet. And if you, instead of drawing the alphabet straight across in a straight line from A to Z, but you draw it into big downward and then upward U shape, A up in the upper left-hand corner, A, B, C, D, on down, and then L, M, N, O, they make a curve at the bottom of the U, and then you start to write the letters upwards, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, until you're back up at the upper right-hand side of the page. So the alphabet in itself makes a giant U shape. And he was showing that the basic, if I can do this right, the basic message in the alphabet is it's a reminder for us that it's showing the journey that we as spirit make the descent down into matter, and then we go full on all the way into matter, and then we make the descent back up to spirit. And maybe the alphabet is kind of like a reminder, a safety valve, a safety path, a way back out. And isn't the letter Z used to make, when you say omega, isn't the Z a symbol for the word omega? Because they say, you know, I am the alpha and the omega. Well, that takes you from A to Z right there, meaning I am everything. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm noticing the position of the letter L. And I noticed that I've seen some spiritual teachers and people talking about space shifting and biolocating, the ability to move one of our psychic powers, the ability to move the actual body in an instant to wherever you want to go, and that to make a dimensional shift, or maybe all that is a vibrational shift, but something about a 90-degree turn is part of the actual action. And I'm assuming that as we all wake up our third eyes and remember who we are, and we all start to have massive flows of intuition into the third eye, that we will remember, and we will naturally regain our powers to have telepathy. We will naturally remember to start how to use telekinesis to move things, and that we will naturally start to remember how to biolocate. And as always, the answers are easy, and I suspect, because they always talk about taking a right angle turn, that taking a right angle turn, you know, whether it's that you quickly spin your body to the right, or you do it with your thoughts, I don't know. But it's somewhere in there, because I've seen it mentioned a lot of times. And even when the only UFO experience I've ever had, I saw a silver orb flying over my house, totally silent, maybe 200 yards up in the sky. It was on a chemtrailing day, and I actually happened to be looking up at the sky, watching them lay down chemtrails, and this silver orb came rocketing over the tops of the treetops out of the right-hand side of my vision. And I had just been looking at them on the internet not too many days prior, so I didn't have to spend any time kind of like looking at it and wondering, what is that I'm seeing? I instantly knew it was a silver sphere, whatever that means. It was a flat, metallic silver orb, and, you know, I couldn't tell you if it was the size of a Volkswagen Rabbit or a toaster. It was probably bigger than a toaster. It might have been about the size of a car. I really don't know. Or 4 feet in diameter. I don't know. But the important thing is I caught my breath finally, and right about as it was over my house, and it was just streaming at a perfect straight line, totally silent. My mom was sitting out behind me on the lawn, and I finally caught myself. I go, Mom, look at that. And I pointed to it right as I said the word that, threw my hand there, but she was reading and looking down. And the second I said that, it made a perfect 90-degree, a right-hand turn, and faded out of view. So fast that my mom, even as she picked her head up and looked, she didn't have time and did not see it up in the sky. And it wasn't a cloudy day either. It vanished in a part of the sky that, the chemtrails were up higher. And, I said it was moving at a rocketing speed. It took that 90-degree turn on a dime. And lost zero speed making the maneuver. It was doop, doop. And if the space of view that I saw it coming across my property was 1,000 yards, when I said, Mom, look at that, and on the word that, it took a 90-degree turn and faded away out of view, meaning that it didn't instantly vanish. If I saw it move from 1,000 yards laterally, when it turned upwards and away from me at a perfect 90-degree angle, it maybe on a 100-yard span versus the original 1,000 coming across, from 100 yards, I watched it fade from 100% there to 0% there, like a perfect fade out. And so I think what I saw make something make a vibrational or dimensional shift. I think it was obviously still there, but it vibrated out of the range of my two eyes perception. And if my third eye was fully open, I believe I would have been able to watch it regardless of it trying to make that kind of escape move or sneaky. It just seemed too timely that it disappeared the second that I yelled out loud, look at that. But that perfectly coincided with everything I'd ever read about that when things make a dimensional shift, a 90-degree turn is part of the maneuver. And that's exactly what this thing did. So what's the point? Back to the letter L. And back to its position on the U-shaped alphabet. You come down, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and right around L, you have to go into LMNOP. You have to make this curve right there when you're drawing the letters. Well, it's funny that L is a right angle shape. L is a 90-degree turn. And it's right there when you draw the U-shaped alphabet. It's right there where you begin the dimensional shift. A, B, C, D, A through K is us just up at A. The story is that we are pure spirit, and this is a map of our journey. And each of the letters, I can't remember all right now, but each of the letters signifies a different part of our growth and stage and movement through this transition from spirit to matter to spirit. And they say that water is the lubricant between dimensions. Water is the universal conduit. Water is the lubricant between dimensions. And so when you draw the alphabet in an L shape, in a U shape, L precedes the two exact letters that are the exact middle of the alphabet, M and N. What happens when you put M and N together? You notice that when you draw an M, on the right side of it, it ends in the down position. The N right next to it starts on the left side of the N at the down position. When you move an M and an N together, their two parts meet up at the exact same point. An M and an N together make the water symbol. An M and an N together go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That is the universal symbol for water. In M and N, the symbol for water just so happens to be found at the very bottom part of the U-shaped alphabet. And right before, and water is the lubricant between dimensions, and we're making a dimensional shift. We were spirit. We came down into matter. We're having these experiences, and we want to grow and learn. We want to take our knowledge with us, right? We want to take it back to spirit because we're here to learn things. So we come down out of spirit into matter. We have experiences. LMNO. LMNOP. Why is P right there? The word we use for urine. Is the P right there because when we wake up, and is that exactly where we are right now? Is that why the age of Aquarius is also kind of in the age of Aquarius is just after the age of Pisces, which on this 26,000-year cycle, we tend to always be in our lowest vibrating state in the age of Pisces. And the age of Aquarius is just after we bottom out. And in the age of Aquarius, we learn that water is what we are made out of, and we learn that we have our own watering system called P. LMN, oh, P. LMN, you come down, you forget that you are spirit. You have all these experiences, but then you start to bottom out, you take a L, you take a 90-degree turn, you go through water, MN, and you go, oh, P, and you remember P. I think that's why that P is right there after that O. So what is up with the L? And why is the L-I, life, why is it in the beginning of our most important words? Why are we remembering this now? Seems to be some kind of a timely fashion to it, almost as though we wrote these instructions so that we wouldn't forget to go back to spirit, because that's what it's doing. The remembrance, P, the remembrance is bringing us back to spirit, isn't it? It's all making us go, oh, wow, we aren't just matter. We can go back to spirit. We are spirit, and we can take all these experiences we've had in the 3D matter world and bring them on. It's no longer the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It is the age of Aquarius. We're past the M and the N. We're past the bottom of the U shape. We're actually starting to lift our heads back up. We're going, oh, P. We're remembering we're made out of P, and we're about to go through Q, R, S, T, U, W, X, Y, Z. I am the Alpha and the Omega. That is all of us. We are all that. We are all together on this journey as balls of light, spirit balls of light, who decided to experience some matter. What's the matter? We are all on this U-shaped alphabet ride together. Isn't that cool? So that is a long tirade about salt and inorganics and organics and life and light and the letter L. Okay. And I'll try to, I'll read that Alvin, I believe it's Alvin S. Boyd, I hope I'm saying that right, and the Esoteric and Hidden Meaning of the Alphabet. Something like that. It's just a little book, only like 56 pages, but it'll blow your mind forever about what the alphabet truly is. It was perfectly logical, and I remember it was fun reading about what all the other letters meant. I think even the letter B, right afterwards, you can kind of see you've got the letter A is one thing, but now it's dividing into two things. Maybe that's the first division, but I digress and can't remember, so I'll talk about it later when I can. An exciting thing that's going on is that people are helping people. And even through this show, I'm seeing that. We had Mark on the last show who was suffering from bipolar issues. And my friend Gal sent him some, I can't remember who the video was of, but it was a video about bipolar. About being bipolar and having issues with it. And so I just noticed, people are reaching out to each other through the show, and I sent a friend suggestion between Mark and Gal so that, now they can also communicate with each other, help each other out. I just want to say that's great. Have any of you ever had a snack attack? I know I have. Funny, huh? 1981. Area code 613, there's a question mark beside. I don't know if that means you have a question. I'm used to seeing like a yellow flag, but let me see. Area code 613, did you have a question?
Oh, hi, Andrew. It's Mary Lynn.
Hey, Mary Lynn, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going okay. How are you?
Good.
Good. I had a couple of comments. I have a couple questions about what I'm experiencing, but I had a couple comments on what you were sharing earlier, Andrew, about seeing the silver sphere in the sky. And from my experience playing with energy for about the last 15 years, silver is a real representation of the divine feminine. And it's just a really powerful time for the divine feminine to be really coming into the planet. So that was very cool when you shared that, because that was just another validation to me. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah, and when you were talking about the L in the alphabet, it felt like the L was like a portal. You know how you said it went right on a 90-degree angle?
Yeah.
It just really felt like a portal of energy. The L allows people to go through the portal into the elemental P.
Yeah, and they got that sound, the word element there too.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share those two pieces that came to me as you were talking about that. So very cool, right? Like people have this portal of energy to go into the P. Yeah.
That seems to be what's happening.
Yeah. I've been on distilled water for about a month now, Andrew.
Okay.
And have dealing with fibromyalgia and a bladder disorder. And I have to say that it's becoming pretty intense for me, the detox symptoms and stuff.
Okay. What kind of symptoms you getting?
Just more pain. More fatigue. And I mean, I'm doing a little bit of cleansing and different things like that just to try to help myself, in the process. I have a steam sauna, so I get in it and have a good sweat, those kinds of things. Do you have any experience with people with this disorder on what detox is like for them?
Well, it just really seems to be absolutely different for everybody.
Right.
But this level of pain of people who've really acquired, for whatever reason, a heavy toxic load, it can be very painful. Ann Hildesmith talked many, many times of different excruciating pains that would come and go for sometimes only 2 hours, or sometimes a day and a half. Or are you getting individual pains like that, or a heavy fatigue constantly? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty much constant.
And are you drinking urine or just distilled water?
I'm doing about maybe a cup and a half of urine in the morning.
Okay.
With my juice. And trying during the day to juice and eat clean. Now, supper time, I normally do have a cooked meal with a juice with supper, right, for all the enzymes and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really, I'm doing a good gallon and a half of the distilled every day.
Oh, cool. Okay. And it's been a month.
Yeah, but it feels like it's just becoming extremely intense. Like, yeah.
Describe it for us more.
Well, the other piece that I was getting is that I've been doing chiropractic and massage for like 6-8 weeks, and I would think that by this time my body would have balanced and the muscles would have relaxed, right? So I know that there's a huge connection with my muscles. And so the water, I know what it does is it goes in and cleans out all the inorganic material from the body. Do you have any understanding about the muscles and how the muscles, it's like it feels like resistance happening in them.
What's
your understanding with the muscular system and distilled waters, or is it just pretty much you're looking at the whole system?
I am looking at the whole system, but do I know the specific action of how the muscles eject garbage?
Or how the distilled water would affect the muscular system?
Well, it'll clean it out just like every other part of your body.
Right.
And the cells, just when they don't have enough clean water, they are each on their own little houses that have to get the garbage out of the house, or else it starts to stink inside the house. And if they don't have proper water flow, they get garbage back up, and that creates toxic situations. And so, just at a very basic level, the water is just being in abundance there, is allowing your body to release the garbage, where normally you've built up many years of garbage piles all throughout your body, and I don't mean that badly about you, but that's a state
not at all.
I'm just kidding. That's a state that we're all in. How old are you? I forget. I'm sorry to ask.
I'm 46.
Okay. So that's a good amount of time having collected junk in this toxin-filled world.
Yeah, and I've done many years of cleansing, and I was probably 6 or 7 years pain-free, actually.
And so this is showing you that, which we hear a lot, people have been supposedly doing cleanses and detoxing a lot their whole life, and who are experts at yoga and cleanses. Whenever they hit the distilled waters and urine, it just all of a sudden they realized that they were not even close to being detoxed yet.
Right. Yeah, it's more the cellular level, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And when you were talking about the man that had the tooth issue, and I'd learned just recently actually about oil pulling from the mouth. So urine pretty much does the same thing, right, as oil pulling does?
Just better.
And so I actually have a couple of fillings, mercury fillings in my mouth. So have you done urine pulls in your mouth?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And what does the consistency of the urine change?
Oh, you mean over 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, you could, it becomes kind of thicker and bubbly because you're swishing it. But I couldn't say that I've ever specifically looked at, I'm just going off memory here, I've never specifically looked to see the difference in the consistency of it afterwards.
Right.
What are the prospects for you getting the fillings out?
Well, at this time, the money isn't there to do that.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking for other ways to support myself, really.
You mean support your health?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think aside from fasting and drinking more urine, those would be ways that you could up the game. Is it easy for you to do juices? You said you have a juicer?
Yeah.
Have you ever done any juice fasting?
Yeah, I've done at different times. Not in the last little while, I haven't.
Okay.
And it's like I feel like I'm resisting it on some level, which is really silly.
Well, we all have our snack attacks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm even thinking one day a week. Just start there.
Yes.
Because, like I said, during my whole day, it's normally raw food and juice. But then come supper time, right? I end up having, whether it's steamed vegetables and a little piece of meat or whatever. But I'm still eating cooked food, right?
Yeah, and you're in a nice 24-hour cycle. You're still throwing in a big load of food with no living enzymes in it. So it's basically a pile of dead mush that you have to use your life force energy to digest.
Yeah.
And it's throwing all that new garbage all over your cells, which we're happily trying to get rid of, all toxic garbage. I think that would be a great idea to start with one time a week, and just do a distilled waters fast where you have unlimited amounts of, be it distilled water, all the juices you would like, and all the urine that you can love. That was definitely the easiest fast I ever did, and that should really step up the game for you. And it'll probably get your urine to a noticeably more palatable state where you could actually have more of that too.
Right. And the other thing that I'm doing is I am putting it on my face, like I'm rubbing it on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, even within a month, I mean, I don't have a lot of wrinkles to begin with, but I'm noticing the elasticity in my face changing, which is very cool.
Very nice.
And you were talking about your lab. I'm noticing it in my belly area. Like, I've probably got an extra 10, 15 pounds on me, but I'm actually noticing my obliques, and there's form happening. And I haven't really done anything much differently in the last month but start the Distilled. And,
nice.
Yeah, to me, that's just like, wow.
And that's typical of how fast it should be. It's great that you're putting your urine on the face, because that just dramatically speeds things up. Anywhere that you can throw urine into the mixture, whether it's enemas, rubbing it on your face, rubbing it on the areas of your body where you're feeling pain,
right.
That can help. Urine just is head and shoulders above all the other distilled waters.
Right. Right. Well, I'll definitely, it feels like even, taking that next step is going to put me in a whole other vibration, so to speak, to allow it to happen easier, like just to be very easy for me to go to the next level. That's what it feels like with the water. It feels like it's preparing me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the way it provides you different level steps. There's so much, because when you only know about urine therapy, there's basically, if you need to really heal somebody, you only get one option: start chugging all your urine. But it's so hard for people to do.
Right.
And with the distilled water, it provides all these different steps. And even on the medication issue, people are, there's this constant, boy, do I drink my urine if I'm taking pills or not? And if you don't feel safe about your own internal answer to that, you don't have to answer it. You can just hop on juices and distilled water until you feel more cleaned out and get off the pills, and then jump on your urine.
Yeah,
you're right.
And I've been pretty lucky that I don't do, like, pills, right? That's not something that I want to, even though I have pain in my body, I've always, I do acupuncture and different modalities and different things just so that I don't ever go down that road.
Yeah.
Now, as far as fluoride, like that seems to be another really big piece coming up for me lately. And, I've always lived in the bush, in the country, and I've been in town for the last 6 years, and I was making the correlation between when my symptoms of the fibro came back, because, like I said, I was 7 years symptom-free. And it's when I had to move back into the town where the water was fluorinated. And, I never drank it. I always did spring water until I learned about distilled. But, and I have a shower filter on my shower, but I think there's a huge connection there between the fluoride and all the crap in our body, right? Like all the toxins that we're being fed, whether it's food or whatever.
Yeah, it's
everywhere.
Wreaking havoc on people's, it's everywhere, and it's all pervasive. And now I even hear there's talk about that they're started putting fluoride in the chemtrail spray.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So I try not to go there and focus on what I can do to create something different and not really feed into all of that stuff, because I don't think that supports it in any way, right? It just feeds it. But I'm very consciously aware of everything that's happening around me, for sure. And I think the distilled water for people is something that they can afford to do, and at least it's really supporting the body in releasing. So, yeah.
And it is most direct towards Hippocrates, saying that only the body can heal the body.
Absolutely.
And the body is made out of water. So really, in that sense, you can see the words body and water as interchangeable. In fact, we have the term body of water, right?
Right.
So when you drink water, really water is liquid body, because that's what your body's made out of. So when you start flushing it, you are using the body, water, to heal the body, water.
Right. Very cool. And I was doing a healing today with a really powerful healer, and she was talking about water and the molecular structure of water, and she said if you have clean water and it's aligned with dirty water, that the dirty water will like automatically be attracted to the clean water, and the clean water will share information with the dirty water, and by the time they do whatever they do, that you have both particles of water clean. I thought that was extremely interesting.
If you put dirty water and clean water in the same bucket, the dirty water
will automatically be attracted to the pure water.
Right.
And that it's almost like, like becomes like.
Mm-hmm.
And the energetic piece to that is what she was sharing, right? How scientists have proven this. This just isn't woo-woo stuff. Like, they've actually proven it. So I thought that was really interesting. That happened earlier today. So it's funny how all these pieces are coming in, right? So I'm just going to keep drinking my distilled water, and yeah.
It's the best game in town, and it's free. Well, it's your own distilled water is urine. That's totally free.
Right.
Now, like attracted to like, that's kind of what you just said, right?
Yes.
And speaking to, you can stay online if you want, or we can keep talking about this. Walter Russell's work, and it throws people for a loop when his work shows that opposites attract is a total lie. And that it's really sames that attract. And, art lovers that love to go to museums generally don't like to hang out with people that love to go to sports stadiums all the time, I would say. And in a lot of times in couples, you tend to see more that sames attract. And in Walter Russell, he wrote a book, A New Concept of the Universe, and he showed that in truth it's sames that attract in the electrical world and everywhere, and that opposites repel. And of course, in my talks, you would always hear me using the common accepted science that opposites attract, and this is how we explain that the negative charge of water is attracted to the positive charge of the dirt, right? So that would explain why when you put dirty water next to clean water, they're totally mesh into each other, because all that dirt is attracted to all those nice, fresh, totally virgin, negatively charged water molecules, and you get all that tons of positively charged dirt. And so you think what you're seeing is what opposites attract, but it's the real truth, and it's obvious to me that it's really sames attract. You can use Walter Russell's science, and it still works, because water is dead. Now, it just happens to be a strange and unusual molecule in that it has an overriding negative charge to it. But what I'm really seeing here is, I was talking about organic versus inorganic, and that organic things are filled with light and they're organized and they're more structured and things are more perfectly organized, so they channel more light. And dead things are not organized and they're not as perfectly channeling light. And this dirt is dead, and water is dead. What I mean by that, water is actually an inorganic compound. And so what you're seeing is two dead things being attracted to each other. And so it's actually the fact that water is dead in the Russellian science that works, because sames attract, and water is dead, and water is attracted to dirt. And that's why we always use water to clean things. Whenever there's something dirty, the first thing you think of is, where's water that I can wash it away with? And you tend to think it's the physical action of the swishing and the washing, but it's largely the actual attraction on a molecular level that sames attract, because water is actually an inorganic compound. And even the book about urine is called The Water of Life. It's not that water is life, and I even say in my talks, it's not that water is light or life, it's that water is a perfectly sacred geometrical antenna to conduct light or life. So it's the water of life. It's not that water is life. And it's right there. It's telling you that water is not living. It's that it conducts what makes things living, and that is light. Had you ever heard about Walter Russell's science before?
No, I hadn't, no.
It's really easy to understand, too, and I think his work has been very largely suppressed. But his books are quite easy to read. I believe the one that I have is called The New Concept of the Universe. And I first got it because it was somebody that Santos Bonacci had given a lot of credit to, and is one of his most highly recommended reads, was to check out the work of Walter Russell. So I did that.
Oh.
And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's saying opposites don't attract, and it's the same as attract, and that's all that I've been using in my talks about water, is that commonly accepted term that we're all familiar with, opposites attract.
Right, and it kind of fried my brain, to be honest with you, like to when you were talking about it, if I took it in on a real cognitive level, it was like all of this, like it just didn't make sense, right?
Uh-huh.
So when you were talking about it, I kind of let go of my cognitive mind and just listened to what you were sharing about it, because we're so programmed, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to the cognitive mind.
Right, you get that dissonance.
Yeah, but so I just kind of listened to you from a whole other level, and it resonated with me, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you can, you just do a simple Google search, and it says right there, water is an inorganic compound.
Right.
Yeah. But I never really addressed that issue very much. We spend so much time talking about organic versus inorganic, and the show is called Distilled Waters. But
right.
What happens when you ask, well, is water organic or inorganic? The truth comes out that it's inorganic. And
right.
That's bad, right? We're not supposed to eat inorganic things. But this happens to be, this inorganic thing is what we're made out of. How's that for a mind job, right? And you don't know of anything that's living. Again, the Li word, live, live. Everything that you know that's living is full of water. And that just for whatever reason, I guess we'll figure that out as we get more bright and shiny too. Water seems to be wherever life is, and you can't have this conductivity of light without water filling up the structure of these sacred geometrical shaped bodies, be it a worm or a human or a dog or a plant or a flower or a grasshopper. These water-filled bodies are conducting light, and when they die, the light goes out of them.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll let somebody else come on, Andrew, and thank you for all that you do. And like I said, I'll tap in again just going to keep drinking the water and try the 1-day fast and, see where that takes me.
Yeah, then see if you can work up into 3, 5, 7-day fasts. I don't know why those odd numbers seem to work for it, but something about those little goals.
Right.
Nice little time frames.
Right. Well, I'll definitely work towards that for sure.
Okay, Mary. Thank you so much for calling. And I'm sorry I made you wait online. There's 2 different symbols that people can raise here, when they have a question. So.
No, that's okay because I know it was all perfect.
Okay, cool.
All right, take care.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you. And I realize now there was somebody else earlier that also had a question mark symbol raised, and I didn't answer it, so I'm sorry for whoever that was trying to call in with a question that I did not understand. Okay, back to some mail. Elena wrote me and mentioned how that Obama signed the Monsanto Protection Act. And she was listening to one of our prior interviews where I was talking about that I don't spend money on organic produce because I can't afford it. I would if I could afford it. Definitely. You can definitely see the difference. When I juice celery that's organic, it's super dark green versus a light green of conventional celery. So she was talking to her husband and listening to the show as I was saying that that I'm okay with eating GMO foods because I juice them. It's not that I want to be eating GMO foods, but it's all I can afford. If I want to juice, you use up a massive quantity of fruits and vegetables when you juice, and they could just totally bankrupt you. And her husband said he's concerned. He's wondering how could GMO be as healthy as organic? Well, that's not what I was saying at all. I'm definitely agreeing that organic is off the charts healthy and what you want compared to GMO framed foods. But I know that most people can't afford that. So I want to let people know what I do, and that part of the evidence is that I'm still having complete fountain of youth type effects, even though I'm not touching any organic foods. I'm juicing the piss out of fruits, oranges, grapefruits. I love the melon family too, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew. And I get it all right from the farmer's market by the caseload. So I just want to reiterate again that I think it's the water. It's the water in these things that even with GMO and fluoride, cryolite, pesticide sprayed foods, the water content in them that is still, when if it's living, they can't rob the distilled water aspect out of it. And it seems like the volume of water in it overrides whatever toxins are attached to it and are far overriding it, because anybody that I know that starts juicing even conventional non-organic fruits and vegetables, they start glowing like crazy. They come to life. They shed all their old injuries and illnesses and diseases and buildups of toxic garbage. The water just seems to rinse it all out. So it's like, each water molecule can hold a certain number of objects. It's got a certain size cargo trunk on it. And when those babies are clean, man, they can haul a lot of cargo. So even the distilled water in conventional, genetically modified organisms overrides the nastiness and takes it all out of you. And I think there's fears, the GMO stuff, genetically modified. Is the DNA modified? Is it going to change your DNA? No, it can't. You have your own signature sound. Your DNA vibrates, and you're light, you are condensed matter, and there is a particular sound that is vibrating your particular matter into your particular shape. And your DNA knows who you are, and when you have the pure water running through you, you have pure light channeling through you, and your energy signature, your body, is broadcast at the correct version of you. So even with the GMO foods, it's still the water that's really the workhorse. And as Norman Walker also said in his book, Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Juices, Dr. Walker lived to be 99 years old. He did tests after he juiced fruits and vegetables with pesticides on them, and he found that almost in the vast entirety, the toxins were found in the pulp and not in the juice. Now, as he said, it seemed as though toxins were almost allergic to nutrients, and I think it's kind of similar to just how our body stores the toxicity that we gather. It stores it in the structural aspects of your body. It stores it, along your bone, in your bones, along the sides of your veins. It tucks away in different places that aren't vital to you in that moment, and it looks like that's what the plants are doing with any toxins they come in contact with. Also, they're storing it in the structure of the plant. That's what Dr. Walker noticed. It was always the toxins were found in the structure, meaning in the pulp. And so when you juice it, even if it's conventional fruits and vegetables, you are separating the structure away from the perfect juices and nutrients, and that is where the plant stores the toxins, is in the structure. And that also comes back around to fluoride in tea. You probably, I'd never thought of it before, you could juice green tea. If you had the living plant and juiced it, the juice of the green tea plant would probably be, I don't even know what that's like. I've never even heard of that, I don't think, juicing green tea leaves. It'll probably knock you off your socks. It's pretty, just like people who are juicing marijuana are just having amazing effects from, without, it doesn't have any of the properties of getting you high, just the nutrients of marijuana, cannabis itself, are incredibly health-giving. So it would be funny to see how health-giving that the juice of live green tea leaves, what kind of effect would that have on people? But you don't have that with tea. What people are doing with the green tea plant, all the tea, is they're drying it. They're drying it before they give it to you. So what are we doing right there when we're drying it? We're kicking out the water. Well, it seems like the water is the ultimate thing that a water-based creature wants. So right there, the first act of preparing tea is not bode well for its future and its effect on you. So we're drying it and kicking out the water and saving the structure of it. And fluoride gets locked into the structure. The green tea plant unfortunately collects more fluoride and aluminum from the air, soil, and water, so much more so than any other plant, edible plant on the planet, that drinking 1 cup of tea is like drinking anywhere from 8 to 14 liters, around 14 liters. It just depends on how fluoridated your particular version of fluoridated tap water is. But it's like drinking a typical 14 liters of fluoridated city tap water. That's how much fluoride is in 1 cup of tea. And people want to know, well, isn't it talking about calcium? Isn't it naturally occurring calcium fluoride? No. There's so much fluoride and aluminum in the air, soil, and water. We've polluted it so much that it's in the air, and plants come in contact with it. And it just so happens that the particular structure of the green tea plant holds more fluoride and aluminum than any other edible plant on the planet. And so it really does have sodium fluoride and hexafluorosilicic acid, all these crazy, horrifying compounds, fluoride compounds, are in tea. And what do we do with it? We don't juice it. We dry it, we kick the water out of it, and then we put it in a cup and we pour boiling water on it, and we steep it. And what is the process of steeping supposed to do? You're supposed to be drawing everything out of the structure. You want, you're after the calming ingredients in chamomile, you're after the caffeine in the green tea, you're after the antioxidants in green tea. But what's also in the green tea is massive amounts of fluoride and aluminum. And so when you steep it, you kicked out the original distilled water, and now even if you're using distilled water to make tea with, the fact is that you are steeping it to draw out of these dehydrated leaves. You're trying to draw out of them what is locked in them, which is not only these nutrients, but tons of fluoride and aluminum. So you're actually purposely, when you treat a plant that way, when you dry it and then put the dehydrated leaves in hot water and let it sit, you're doing the worst possible thing that you could ever do, and that's drawing out all the toxins. And and then they're pushing green tea on everybody. You got to get your antioxidants. It's green tea, green tea. Well, all living foods have antioxidants in them. They're pushing green tea on you because this is opposite land, and it's the worst beverage you could be drinking, loaded with fluoride. And speaking of fluoride, it just was occurring to me the other day. There's a lot of people saying that wondering if brushing is good for your teeth or not. Brushing all this, because a lot of people when they start drinking the distilled water, they start hardly brushing at all. It's weird. Their teeth are so smooth and clean all the time. That's a very common testimony. Their teeth feel smooth and clean. They stop brushing as much. Well, that's weird. That's kind of a strange thing that you can actually get away from brushing without even brushing. You got this liquid brush called water that vacuums right into your teeth. But if you're not doing that and you're eating 3 cooked meals a day, what do they want you to do? They want you to brush 3 times a day with what? With fluoride paste. And it's not just any old fluoride paste. Your drinking water on average has 1 part per million. Toothpaste on average, 1,000 parts per million. And they want you to put that in your mouth, on your gums, your mucous membrane gums, your mucous membrane entirety mouth, blood vessels galore. You put urine under your tongue because it so quickly goes into your bloodstream. You put homeopathic pills under your tongue and in your mouth because it so quickly goes into your bloodstream. They want you to put 1,000 parts per million fluoride paste in your mouth and then scrub those mucous membranes with a bristle brush. Those mucous membranes that are already super fast at transferring whatever touches them, they want you to put 1,000 parts per million paste of fluoride into your mouth 3 times a day and run around with a sharp, pointy brush and scuff up your gums. Why are they so strongly pushing 3 times a day, do you think? Get your fluoride dose, maybe? I think so. Okay. Let's go to some mail here. Oh, yes. Very interesting news. Therese emailed me, and she has, because you hear me talking about, I don't have too many testimonials. I only have 1 testimonial with somebody with autism. Therese has an 11-year-old with autism, and she's going to be sharing progress updates with us. Her son is already, luckily, her son is a big water drinker. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges with an autistic child, is you can't necessarily, they won't necessarily do what you ask them to do. And so if they, in particular, don't want to drink water, then it's kind of hard to help clean out the metals in the garbage, which is causing the autistic problem in the first place. So wonderfully, with Teresa's child, he likes to drink water, and he weighs 105 pounds, and he's currently drinking, she says, roughly 60 ounces a day. And it's only been a couple of weeks, but she's already noticed mild detox symptoms in him, and the changes in the quality of his stools, and the changes in his sinuses, kind of like having some cold flu-like symptoms. So that's good news, that we've got a water-drinking autistic boy, 11 years old, and his mom is going to keep updating us. So that's the story of Teresa and her boy. I really thank her for doing that. I know a lot of people will be interested to hear how that goes. Let's see, we have Jackie, who has been suffering from eczema her whole life. And she's been doing 3+ liters per day now for a couple of weeks. And actually for a couple months. A couple of weeks out, she had an outbreak of eczema on her left foot. And then 4 weeks later after that, she had severe outbreaks on both hands and feet. And she's asking, is this detox? Should she keep going? I suggested she carry on, and yes, this is, the distilled waters are pushing the eczema out of her body. It's having its death knell, if you will. And she said that she would carry on, and that she's happy to have some support in doing that, because otherwise all of her friends are telling her that the distilled water is causing the problems, and that she would otherwise be being pressured into cortisone and steroids, which, another case in point here, this is the way that allopathic medicine focuses on symptoms. The cortisone and steroids will never erase the cause of her eczema, and distilled water will do nothing but focus on removing the cause. And she even has a friend who does urine therapy, but the friend said, no, you can't use urine on it because it's too salty, which I don't understand at all, having a urine therapy friend telling you not to use urine for eczema. It's just crazy to me. It absolutely will help her with her eczema. And I told her specifically as well, not only you can drink it to help even further speed up how quickly it gets kicked out of your body, but also putting urine on the eczema breakout areas will help to draw it out faster, help to heal the wounds in those areas faster. And again, a good place for a compress, if she has the privacy, she could wear a compress or bandages on the outbreak areas of eczema. We have a call or a question from area code 801.
Hi, Rachel again.
Hi, Rachel. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good.
You sound great.
Thank you.
I've got a few questions for you.
Okay.
First one is with feeding cats and dogs raw meat. Are you particular about organic or just best price meat?
Best price. I'm not particular at all. I couldn't even fantasize about affording organic meat. Luckily I can find chicken at 99 cents a pound.
Wow. Okay, great. And then also, we had a short conversation via email about the Audja Clarity product. Did you have a chance to watch that video?
No, I haven't. And I was just thinking about that today, and I just didn't have time to get around to it. And I find it interesting, one of the doctors who's supporting it is one of the doctors on my list of 24 doctors.
Really?
Do you remember the name of the particular doctor who? There were two people in that interview that you sent me. One of them was Dr. somebody. I can't remember his name.
You did not write it down.
No, but it's anyways, that's got me intrigued, but I'm very suspicious of anything that comes in a packaged bottle that you can only get from this one company, this one source.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who knows? Whatever it's made of, maybe having good effects on people. I can't speak honestly about it right now.
Okay. We'll talk further about that after you have a chance to go through that interview, because it's pretty good.
Yeah, that would definitely give me a little segment to talk about. I do remember somebody in the past asked me about Adja Clarity water, and I didn't like what I noticed about it in the fine talk, but I can't remember in the fine print. I can't remember what those points were right now, so I will go back over that.
Another question I have, I'm real curious, what is your source for the green tea having all that fluoride in it? Where did you read that?
You can Google that term, fluoride in green tea or green tea fluoride, and you'll see a couple of articles pop up. Okay. Norman Walker's book in general talks about how toxins get stuck. The plant stores toxins in the structure of the plant, and just whether it's fluoride or any chemical, that's what the plants do with it, is store it in their structure. And his book is, I believe it's called Fresh Vegetable and Fruit Juices, or it's Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Juices, but it's by Dr. Norman Walker. Great little book. You can also see that where the older the tea is, the more fluoride it stores up, and it's known that white tea, which is young green tea, has the least amount of fluoride in it in the green tea. There's green, white, and black tea. They're all the same plant. The white tea has the least amount of in it. Of course, the herbs don't have a hardly in it. It's, chamomile tea and rose hibiscus and all these other wonderful herbs. Those are fine. It's just this particular plant that's a magnet and a sponge for fluoride and aluminum. The content of the fluoride goes up as you get into the older tea, and so the green tea has a considerable amount. Black tea is just off the charts with it. And brick tea is the oldest form of black tea. I don't mean old as far as ancient. I mean as far as processing and the amount of time it's spent growing and collecting fluoride. And then it's compressed into these bricks. It's called brick tea. And wow. In places where they drink lots of that, they even have children coming down with skeletal fluorosis.
Wow. I've not heard of brick tea.
Yeah, just Google that term, you'll see it. It's just, it's compressed black tea, and it's very dense. I don't know if they produce it when you prepare it any differently, in denser amounts or what as well that contributes to it. But who else? John Yamaunis, and he's got a really crazy last name. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. He wrote a book called Fluoride, the Aging Factor. He is one of the most well-respected fighters of sodium fluoride, putting together real document citations, real clinical lab work showing how fluoride dissolves our DNA and rips it apart, unravels your DNA, just absolutely destroys the human body. His book, Fluoride, the Aging Factor, is fantastic. And I believe in there also, he too, one of the most well-respected researchers on sodium fluoride, he too absolutely confirms that it's in heavy, heavy amounts in tea.
Okay, cool. I'll get that book. That sounds great. And then also another question I want to ask, if you've encountered, I have a niece who was born with a birthmark over one eye, and it has affected the vision from that eye. She can only see blur out of that eye. And I was thinking, have you heard of anybody doing like a urine compress and having vision come to eyes that did not previously have it?
not necessarily with a compress. I know even a woman who was just drinking a gallon a day of distilled water, within 90 days, she no longer had to wear her driving glasses, which she'd been required by law to wear for 45 years. When she took the driver's test, the state examiner was very puzzled and looked at her and told her she had 20/20 vision. And that was without, she wasn't even putting drops of distilled water in her eyes. That was just by drinking the gallon of distilled water every day, from the inside out, the body went, the water went, and retrieved all the garbage that was clogging up her eye lenses. So that's without even touching the eyes with urine or distilled water. So I would know that if you put urine compresses on your eye, it would speed it up that much faster, and even to do urine drops in your eye, or to get even better is to get a little glass eye wash cup, fill it with urine or distilled water if you aren't into urine, and blink each eye 50 times in the eye wash cup, and do that 3 times a day. I mean, this whole 3 times a day thing, that's if you're really trying to get down on something, you're trying to whiten your teeth super speed, or trying to heal those eyes faster. Do these things 3 times a day, and it just makes it even faster. Combined with a gallon a day, working at it from the inside, you start doing these washes and your soaks and these eye washes and drops and compresses, man, you're just going at it from both sides, and it really heals things quickly. So are you saying the birthmark is not on the eyelid, but is actually on the eye?
Her eye is kind of it's a lazy eye. And it's in that, it's like it's in the whole area, so it affects the skin of the eyelid, how the eye, which direction, the eye isn't pointing straight like the other one, and it has affected her vision, and there's also discoloration of the skin. Okay.
Yeah, I would think it would heal it. And it would be great to hear a further report about how it worked with her lazy eye, too. Is this somebody that is currently doing the distilled water therapy?
No, I talked to her dad about if that's a conversation that he'd be willing to have with her because of her age. He says probably not for another 6 years.
Oh, how old is she?
I think she's 11.
Oh, well, she can handle it still. I mean, it's good for everybody. But generally, it's not a gallon a day for an 11-year-old, probably more like half a gallon a day.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. The water that they drink there, the TDS of it is 59. And it's water that's out of, not a well, but it's out of the canyon above their house.
Okay, so it's still groundwater.
Right.
Yeah, all those 59 parts are all things that are not usable.
And clogging up the ability for it to clean her eye.
Yep, yeah, it's dampening. It's definitely hindering it and leaving deposits in her body. 100%.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I've got for now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for all the subjects you can talk about, and I will double my efforts to try to give you what I think about adequate clarity. And of course, we'll remember who that doctor is on the next episode. I should probably wrap it up now. We're nearing the end of our 2 hours.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mary Lynn. Call back in again and keep us posted, okay?
I will. Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you later.